Hello there, this is section 4.4 of Math 0018. So today we're going to look at dividing decimals. So we have two objectives. We're going to divide decimals and then we're going to solve some application problems with decimals. So first of all, whenever you're dividing decimals, the first thing you need to do is to determine the sign of your answer first. And that's one thing that we will be doing, even though most of the other steps we won't be using because we'll be doing this work on our calculators. So don't try and let the calculator figure out the sign for you. You make sure that you've memorized your rules for your sign rules for dividing, and then you can just go from there. So steps 2, 3, 4, and 5, we are going to be doing all of those on our calculator. So we don't have to do any of those steps because we're going to let the calculator do that for us. Okay, but that if you were doing the problems by hand, you would have to go through steps 2 through 5. Okay, and you can read through those. I'm going to do one problem by hand, and then the rest I have my calculator right here by my side to help me out. So but when I'll show you how we go through these steps when we do a problem. Now, number 6, we will be using also. So if for some reason you get a repeating digit as you're doing your calculations on your calculator, then you put a bar over any of the repeating digits, or if the directions ask you to round it off, then you round off your answer to the given place value that they've asked you to use. Okay? All right, so in division of decimals, okay, rather than stopping with a remainder, you usually keep going. You add a decimal point and a 0, and you keep dividing. And so a lot of times you may not get an exact answer. It may repeat, and so you would put a bar over the repeating digits, or if the directions tell you to round off the answer, you can use the symbol here. It's read as approximately equal to. You don't have to, because I usually just write an equal sign because to me it's just what I do. But technically when you're rounding, you're not getting an exact value, you're just getting an approximate value. All right, so the main thing you need to know for this section, there's two things. You need to know your sign rules for division of integers, which also applies to decimals, and you need to know which number to put into your calculator first. That's the two main things about dividing decimals. If you've got that, it's no big deal. So the sign rules for dividing decimals are the same as the rules for integers. So if you have two numbers with the same sign, when you divide, the answer is positive. And if you have the two numbers with different signs, it's negative. Okay, same thing with multiplying. Division rules are the same. Okay, so here are some problems. Now, this first one, we have a negative divided by a negative. That's the first thing you need to do is figure out your sign. So that would be a positive. Now, I'm going to do this one problem by hand because it doesn't look too long and gross. And then the other ones I'm going to do on my calculator. Okay, so if you have 3.5 divided by 4. That's what we're going to work out. So the decimal point just goes straight up into the quotient because there's no decimal on the 4, so we don't have to worry about that. But now I have to divide. Well, 4 won't go into 3, so you put a 0 there. Okay, and you can put down a 0. 0 times 4 is 0. And when you subtract, the 3 comes down, and you bring down the 5. Okay, now 4 will go into 35. What, 8 times? Okay, that's 32, 8 times 4, and that leaves 3. So I put down, I want to add a 0, and I bring that down. So 4 now goes into 30 7 times. 7 times 4 is 28, and that leaves 2. Add another 0, bring that down, and you have 4 will go into 20 5 times, and 5 times 4 is 20, and it finally cancels out to 0. Okay, so your answer here is 0.875. Now, the important thing is, and this is what I know most of you will be doing, you're going to use your calculator. Which number goes in first? It's always the first number in your problem that you will put into your calculator first. So 3.5, you would do 3.5 divided by 4. and I got the same thing, so that's good. Okay, so the first number is always the number that you put into the calculator first. All right, so look at number 2, 0.817765 divided by 2.3. So thank goodness for calculators, because I do not want to do that by hand. So divided by 2.3, and I got 0.355, and the 5's kept repeating. Okay, so when you write your answer, you're going to write 0.35, but the bar only goes over the 5. It does not go over the 3, because you want to make sure you realize that that 5 keeps repeating. Okay, so how can you check and make sure that your answer is correct? Well, you can take your answer, multiply it by 2.3, and it should give you back what you started with. So I'm wondering if maybe that doesn't repeat, if it was just a long answer. Let me try that one more time. 65. Oops. Okay. All right. Divided by 2.3. I think it canceled out to 0, so I don't think this one is a repeating decimal. It's just 0.35555, and that's it. It cancels out to 0. So just ignore that. Okay? But you have to write the whole answer there, so be careful. All right, look at number 3, negative 1.8 divided by 0.03. So first of all, and we didn't worry about this on number 2 because there were no signs. On number 3, we have different signs, a negative and a positive, so I know my answer is going to be negative. So 1.8 goes into the calculator first, divided 0.03 gives me negative 60. Nice whole number there. All right, number 4, a positive divided by a negative. The signs are different. So the answer is negative. The 3.1 goes in first, divided by 0.005, and that gives you 620. And you can always multiply back up. 620 times 0.005 gives you 3.1. So you can check all of your answers by using your calculator. All right, number 5. The directions here say divide, round to the nearest tenth. So we're going to divide the numbers the way they are and then round our answer to the nearest tenth. So we have different signs, means our answer is going to be negative. I put 4.98 into the calculator first, divided by 0.5, and you get 9.96. Now, it said round to the nearest tenth. Well, the 9 here is in the tenths place. That 6 is going to round that up. So I add 1. 1 and 9 is 10. And you have to carry into the next digit. 1 plus 9 is 10. The decimal point comes down, and it would be negative. So your answer there is negative 10.0. And that would be it. Okay? Look at number 6. We have different signs. So I know the answer is negative. 55.46 divided by 8.6. And wow, that's a big long number. So you get negative 6.448, blah, 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 bunch of other stuff. Okay, so we're rounding to the nearest tenth. The first 4 is in the tenths place. So we look at the second 4. That's not 5 or greater. So we don't round up. It's going to stay as negative 6.4. And that would be it. Okay. All right, number 7 says evaluate the variable expression x divided by y for the given values of x and y. X is 25.74 and y is negative 6.6. So we're doing 25.74 divided by, because every fraction is a division, divided by negative 6.6. So our signs are different, so we know it's going to be a negative. The number on top of the fraction always goes in first. So 25.74, excuse me, divided by 6.6. And we get 3.9. And it would be a negative. So negative 3.9. Okay? Number 8, divide. Round to the nearest hundredth. So make sure you round your answer to the right place value. So the signs are different, which means we're going to get a negative. 1.27 divided by 1.7. You're going to have, it comes out to 0.7 7470, and it keeps going with a bunch of other stuff. All right, so to the nearest hundredth, remember you count from the decimal point, tenths, hundredths. The 4 is in the hundredths place. So I'm looking at the 7. That is going to round up, so I add 1. 1 and 4 is 5, and then bring down everything to the left of that. So it'd be negative 0.75. Okay, now the next objective is to look at how to divide decimals by a power of 10. In the last section, in section 4.3, we learned that when you multiply decimals by a power of 10, you move to the right. You move the decimal point to the right the same number of places as the zeros. Well, think about this. If multiplying moves to the right, then dividing would move to the left, right? Because when you divide things, it's getting smaller. You're splitting it up, okay? So you have to move the decimal point to the left the same number of places as there are zeros in your power of 10. So look at this first example. We have 462.81 divided by 10. So there's 1 0. That means I moved the decimal point one place to the left. All right? Look at the next example. We're dividing by 100. 2 zeros, so I moved the decimal point 2 places to the left. So that's what you're going to do when you're dividing decimals. So just remember, multiplying decimals, you move to the right because it's getting bigger. When you multiply, it's bigger. When you divide, you have to go to the left because it's getting smaller. So the same thing applies, the same rule applies when we have a power of 10. So if it's 10 to the first, that's the 1 tells you how many places to move your decimal point, the exponent. So we move it one place to the left. 10 squared dividing by 10 squared, we move 2 decimal places to the left. All right? So here's some examples to practice on. We have negative 987.564 divided by 1,000. So we have 3 zeros in our power of 10. We have a negative and a positive, so our answer is going to be negative. Now, 3 zeros in our power of 10, we have to move the decimal point 3 places to the left. So we're going to go whoop, 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 and it's going to come all the way to the front. So you're going to have 0.987564, and that would be your answer there. Number 2, 53.009 divided by 10,000. So here we have 4 zeros in our power of 10, and there's no sign, so we don't have to worry about that. So we're going to move the decimal point 4 places to the left. So you go 1, 2, we've gone 2, we still need to go 2 more, which that means we need to add on 2 zeros. So you're going to have 0 out in front of the decimal, and then 0.0053009. That's a weird answer. All right, so just make sure you're careful about moving your decimal point. Number 3, 126.45 divided by 10 squared. So no signs, but because of the exponent 2, we're going to move the decimal point 2 places to the left. So we go whoop whoop, and it would be right between the 1 and the 2. So 1.2645. All right. And number 4, we have negative 7.825 divided by 10 to the 5th. So we have to go 5 places to the left. So we're going to go 1 place to go in front of the 7. So I'm going to write 7825. So we're in front of the 7. That's 1 place. And I'm going to just write zeros as I count over. 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have now moved 5 places from between the 7 and 8. You go 1, 2, let me just show you the lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And our decimal's at the front. Okay? And also it would be a negative answer. So just be careful there. A lot of people will show me like all the little waves, and then they don't move the stupid decimal point. So you have to make sure you have that decimal point at the front. Very important. Okay, now we're going to look at some application problems. And a lot of these, there may not be so much of a key word like quotient in the problem exactly, but anytime you're talking about splitting something up or figuring out, like if you're putting it into equal parts, that's division. Okay, so let's look at this problem. Dan, a high school football player, gained 168 yards on 24 carries in a high school football game. Determine the average number of yards gained per carry. So if he started with 168 yards, but he carried it 24 times, we want to know how much was his average yardage on one carry. Okay, so basically you're going to divide here. 168 divided by 24. Okay, so if we do that, the 168 goes in the calculator first, and you end up with a nice whole number, 7. Okay, so if you want to be fancy, it would be 7 yards per carry. You can write it out like that. All right. Number 6, you travel 349.8 miles on 16.5 gallons of gasoline. How many miles can you travel on 1 gallon of gasoline? So this is the same idea. They want to know, like, what would the miles per gallon basically be? So whenever you have miles, 349.8 per gallon, it's going to be divided by the gallons. It's going to be division there. You can set it up like a fraction if you want to. All right, so we're going to take 349.8 and divide it by 16.5, and we get 21.2. Now, and this is miles, because that's what we're trying to figure out. How many miles would we travel? Okay. Okay, number 7. Sean is building a bookcase that is 3.7 feet long. How many complete shelves can be cut from a 15-foot board? Okay, so what you're doing is you've got this big long board here, 15 feet, okay, and you want to know if you cut each piece, along in here, this is messy, but each piece has to be 3.7 feet long, okay, that's the whole idea. So we're dividing it, that's what we're doing there. So you take 15 and you divide it by 3.7. Okay, so 15 divided by 3.7 turns out to be 4.05. Okay, so what you're going to have to do there is you've got a little bit more than, technically you could have a little bit more than 4, but you can only get 4 complete shelves, okay, because there's a little bit left over. There's not enough for 5, so you could get 4 shelves out of that piece of wood. Alright, so here are some tries for you to pause the video, try these on your own, make sure you have a calculator, because ooh, look at number 1. Nobody wants to do that by hand, okay? So here we go. Number 1, 431.97 divided by 7.26. No signs. This is straight in your calculator. The only thing you could screw up is if you put the numbers in the wrong order, or if you just hit the wrong keys. So be careful, the wrong buttons. So that should come out to be 59.5 for number 1. Number 2, we have like signs, 2 negatives, so the answer is going to be a positive. Put the 502.96 into the calculator first, divide it by 0.08, and you get 6,287. All right. Number 3, we have a negative divided by a positive, and this is a power of 10 here, okay? So sign's going to be a negative. We have 2 zeros, so I need to go 2 places to the left, which means I'm going to have to add on a 0 there. So I have 0 point, and then I need that 0.1563. All right? So technically, the correct way to write the answer is with the 0 in front of the decimal point. If you enter it into WebAssign without the 0, they'll probably accept it, but it's always a good thing to have it there just to be, safe. All right, number 4, negative 87.255 divided by 10 to the third. So the exponent's 3, which means we need to move that decimal point 3 places to the left. So we're going to go whoop, 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 and we need a 0 there. So a negative 0.087255. You just copy down all the other digits, and that would be it on that one. All right, number 5, divide, round to the nearest hundredth. Okay, so a negative divided by a positive, is a negative. 3.56 divided by 6.4 comes out to be a negative 0.55625. Okay, it says to round to the nearest hundredth. So this second 5 here is in the hundredths place. So we look at the 6. That's going to round that up. So we add 1. 1 and 5 is 6. And you bring down the 5, the decimal point, and the 0 that are to the left there. Okay? And it's going to be negative. So let me write that over. It got a little messy. It should be negative 0.56. And that would be the answer there. Number 6, evaluate the variable expression x divided by y for the given values of x and y. So x is negative 9.5784 and y is negative 34.4. And they also tell us to round to the nearest tenth. So we're going to have the x number, negative 9.5784, divided by negative 34.4. Okay, the signs are the same. So it's going to be a positive answer. And make sure you put the 9 in first. 0.5784 divided by 34.4. And that gives you a positive 0.278 and a bunch of other stuff. Now it said round to the nearest tenth. The 2 is in the tenths place. So we're looking at the 7. That is going to round that up, so we add 1, so that's a 3, bring down the decimal point and the 0, and that's your answer, 0.3. Number 7, we have an application problem. So it says 20,492,000 people visited the Magic Kingdom in 2015 and spent $91,075.56 collectively. That means, all together. Determine the average amount spent by each visitor to the Magic Kingdom. Round to the nearest dollar. So, alright, so let's see the average amount spent by each visitor. So we're going to have to take the people, 20,492,000, I hope that fits in my calculator, and divide it by 91,075.56. Alright, so we don't have to worry about any signs. 2492,000. Oh, it just barely fits. And then 90 divided by 91,075.56. Alright, it comes out to 224.99. That's the main thing you need to see. Okay, it says round to the nearest dollar. Well, the dollar, that's in your ones place. That's the nearest dollar. So the 9 is going to round that up. So to the nearest dollar, each person, each visitor spent $225 when they went. Not super cheap to go to Disney anymore, that's for sure. Number 8. Caden is building a bookcase that is 4.5 feet long. How many complete shelves can be cut from a 24-foot board? So we're going to have to divide here. We're cutting it into 4.5-foot pieces. So 24 divided by 4.5. So 24 divided by 4.5 comes out to, let's do it here, equals 5.3. So that means that you can get 5 complete shelves out of the wood. All right. And I'm pretty sure that's it for section 4.4. That's it. Sorry about that. I forgot how to turn it off.